Hi, welcome to another video on my pneumatic hand and robotic arm. Last time I focused on improving the touchability of this upper sensor with the gear. That should work now. Another issue that is still not to my satisfaction is the fact that this arm doesn't use the complete reachability here. And in order to show you what I mean, I'll run the script program. And you hear the motor going. So I hope that that is. Now it runs, and here you can see how far it goes. And by now it should go further. It obviously doesn't. So that problem is unfortunately still not completely solved. And I'm talking about this issue because this carton should impress the sensor, and it doesn't because the motor is trying to run further, but it doesn't, which gives a high-pitched sound. And my finger, pressing it with my finger doesn't help either, so I'm using a little screwdriver, touching it, and that goes well. Right now it gets stuck. Why that is, I don't know. It should work. Pressing the under sensor. There it goes. If I push that a little bit away, and this is strange because it has to go all the way down. Now it does. So the question is, why is it happening this way? Come on. So this is something quite odd, that the motor is not responding fully. The sensors are. Let me stop the script and do it again. Ouch! That is of course not the intention. And some tubes are gone. So I need to fix this. with everything fixed and more balanced. The motor is still the issue. I never had this before. Well, that is to say, in previous episodes. So the question is, is there a lack of power? Yes, there is. There probably is a lack of power here. And still this obviously should not be necessary. It doesn't go all the way. And there it hangs again. So there's a problem here, and I'm not sure why this suddenly happens. Last time it went very smooth. It doesn't even go near the sensor. But perhaps it is because of this. So let me hold the arm. And let's see what happens now. No, still the same effect. So here's something that is quite irritating. A part of the procedure that used to work perfectly without any change stops working. The problem could be that the gearing isn't completely aligned, and looking here you can see it is torched. There's some torsion in here, so I probably should do something about that. Let's start with that. One interesting thing is that with the cord in the hook it's kind of torted slightly. And unhooked, here is barely any tension, and this can be pulled straight. So the obvious conclusion is then that this needs to be much more rigid. And that brings another question. This has to be solved somehow. which could be done by using this part. And putting something in between here, which brings another point, that this still needs to be attached. So I probably need to put these in here. So let me remove these for now. Because then it will be at the same position as the hook was. And then it remains the question how to put these in. And this one like in here. And that should be something like this. So for this I have to find some kind of solution, and probably the same thing as here, but I need both sides connecting, and that may be another point. That could be something like this. Together with these things. And then dug in it like something like this. And that could be a nice solution. Would it get torted? Most likely not, because these parts are the flexible ones. So let's see how this ends up. So now this looks like a nice idea. However, the cord is now from here to here, and that gives a potential problem, because the anti-axis is not in position anymore, which is also a big problem. So let me first put the axis back where it belongs, like there, and the carton here. And then I also notice that it is not completely horizontal, which it is now. And with all this, let's find out how it works. Does this work as it should? Let's start the script. And the first thing I hear is the whining of the motor. And the first thing that I see happening is that the axis slips out of this wheel. So I need to stop it. And this is really asking for some other solutions. And the question is which one? I should probably add some clamps here in the end, although the ends that are sticking out are rather small. But this needs to be fixed, that much is clear. And I need just 2 of these clamps. Let's see how I can fix this. If I can fix this. See, that is going to be very difficult. It's not even half of the width of the clamp. And same with this. But for now, let's look if it solves in any way this problem. So let's start the program again. That's one sensor. It's not touching the sensor that good again. Some persuasion. That part works again. But again, the carton part is the most worrisome. That is not working nicely. So I probably need to make that thicker. Another thing is, how does the elbow look like? Okay, a little persuasion. Once again. And now it comes to here. And this is an improvement. So at first I'm here, so I've won quite some distance. That's a good thing. The bad thing is that the sensor is not convinced by the carton. So what to do about that? Not quite sure. The torsion is solved anyway. This is a good place after all. Nice in the middle. So as far as this goes, this is solved. But what to do next about this, I have yet to find out. So, are there more issues? Let me think. Before finding other issues, there is one thing that I have to check. Because of the little accident that happened, I should check every connection. So I'm starting this, testing the fingers. 1, 2, 3, and that should be 4, 5, so 4 I have to check. And that is a pity. And the question is where those 4 go. And checking all the wires, it doesn't seem there is any problem. So, but 4 is not working. So that's a good thing to check. Then the motor. Motor is on the normal output. Let's see. Yes, that is 1, and this is the gear. So that's alright too. But unfortunately 4 is not responding. So I need to check that right now. And the difficulty, it is an assembled wire consisting of multiple parts. And yes, there's a wire loose. So I need to check on that right now. And the wire is also getting pretty thin. So I may have to do some rewiring or shortening it. And with all the wires inside, that's not funny. this should fix it. So let's start with 4 again. And that is fixed. So now I know all connections are alright and I can end this diagnosis. Which leads me to run the script and sees if everything works with outside the diagnosis. And the first thing that happens is that the motor starts to whine. There it goes. But I also have to start the compressor. And in the past I had to wait for it. So this is one thing. And the pneumatic should be working. The question is it? And so far there's no response. Now finger 5 response, as you can see. 4 response. 3 response. And a little persuasion with the screwdriver. And let's wait for 2. Two isn't doing very much. Is 1 responding? I don't see 1 responding either. And all should be in working order. And let me try 5 again. So a conclusion might be that the gearing, which doesn't respond too well, is also holding back the fingers. So this is not entirely nice, but it with the fragility of all these connections, yeah, it unfortunately happens. So for now, thank you for watching. Some progress is being made with making the hook for the cord less flexible. An unfortunate accident happened, and who knows what is more next time. So to be continued.